Design Review Board meeting for Tuesday, February 9th, 2021. And that, of course, is for the town of Hilton Head Island. Are we in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act?
Yes, sir, we are.
Thank you, Teresa. Would you please call roll?
Sure. Ms. Lippert? I see Ms. Lippert's on screen. We can circle back to Ms. Lippert. Ms. Foss?
Here.
Mr. McAllister?
Here.
Mr. Molesky?
Here.
Mr. Karstens?
Here.
Mr. Gentleman?
Here.
Ms. Remke is excused. And Ms. Lippert, are you with us? Do you have sound now?
She was shaking her head, yes.
Okay. Okay.
And we'll take Ms. Lippert's visual cue as being present, and we'll work on the audio for that. And Ms. Rimke has been excused. So staff, does staff have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The airport sign revisited, which is BRB 000159-2021, has been withdrawn at the applicant's request from the agenda.
All right, thank you. So noted. May I have a motion to approve the modified agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the modified agenda.
We have a motion from Ms. Foss. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Mr. McAllister, who I can't see, but I recognize the voice. So board members, if you have any other changes to the agenda, please state them when called upon by Teresa. Otherwise, please vote yes or no to the agenda when called. Teresa, roll please.
Ms. Foss?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Molesky?
Yes.
Mr. Karstens?
Yes.
Mr. Gentleman?
Yes.
Ms. Lippert? Okay, I see a thumbs up.
All right, we have a thumbs up. So the agenda is approved unanimously. We'll move on to approval of meeting minutes from the meeting of January 12th. I'm getting some feedback. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the meeting of January 12th, 2021. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of January 12, 2021.
All right, we have a motion for approval from Ms. Foss. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. McAllister. Again, if you have any comments, please bring them up when called. Otherwise, please vote yes or no. Teresa, roll please.
Mr. Chairman, I saw Mr. Molesky as the seconder to that motion.
Oh, that was Mr. Molesky? Okay, sorry. I'm having troubles today. Now I can't see Mr. Molesky. Okay, I will change that to a motion from Ms. Foss, which I'm pretty sure I got that right, and a second from Mr. Molesky. Sorry, you guys are both dark-haired, good-looking guys. You know, I can't.
He's a little younger than me.
A little younger, yeah. And we have a second from Mr. Molesky. So just for sake, Teresa, would you please call roll again on that?
Certainly. Ms. Foss?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Molesky?
Yes.
Mr. Karstens?
Yes.
Mr. Gentleman?
Yes.
And Miss Lippert, do you have audio? Okay, we have a thumbs up.
Do we need to?
Okay, all right.
Maybe we can try calling her.
Mr. Chairman, can you hold for a minute and let us try to connect with Miss Lippert?
Let us know when you're ready.
Thank you, sir. Miss Lippert, we're going to call you on your cell phone.
Enable audio. I want to mute my phone.
Mr. Chairman, we're having Annette dial in on a landline to see if we can get her there.
All right. We have Hargray on the agenda. Maybe they can fix it for us.
Annette, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Great, we can hear
I
you.
can hear you.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. I will not touch anything. Sorry about the delay.
That's
All
fine.
right. Nice to have you, Annette. All right, so let's see here. We're moving on to citizen comments. I will turn it over to Teresa.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Public comments concerning agenda items were to be submitted electronically via the Open Town Hall portal. There were no comments of record for this meeting. In addition to commenting on the portal, citizens could call into the meeting to give comments. However, we don't have any citizens on the call today.
All right, thank you very much, Teresa. All right, moving on to new business. Alteration addition, St. Andrew's Church entry DRB 000097-2021. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. St. Andrews is having problems getting its older and wheelchair-bound members into the sanctuary, more so during bad weather. This application proposes an extension of one of the sanctuary's existing gables to create a porte-cochere. This is an alteration addition, and as such, only requires one review by the DRB. It is staff's opinion that not enough detail and specification of materials and colors is provided in the drawings for DRB approval. Staff is not opposed to the concept, but the number of missing specifications in the drawings requires the recommendation of denial. On your screen, you can see the site outlined in red. Pope Avenue is running diagonally across your screen. Above the screen is the USCB building where the cursor is now at the top left. Seabrook backs up to the site in this location, and the Catholic Church is sitting on the opposite side of the property. Of note is the building that was recently completed, the bicycle rental building across the street on Pope. If anybody doesn't know where we are, please raise your hand or indicate so. Seeing none, I'll move on. So this is the entrance that they're proposing be modified so that gable would extend out. This is a side view of that. Again, another view, slightly different angle of the gable to be extended. This is a plan of the site. The sanctuary is in this location here. You can see this dotted line is where the limit of work will be. So the gable is shown out here, there. This is a multifamily facility or sort of gym in the back, as well as a house here, which is currently the location of Sandbox Museum. Sort of a zoom in on this area where this gable that will be extended out on this dashed line. And you can see the limit of work proposed. This is a tree protection plan. So there's some tree protection fence proposed in this location over here. Again, a detail of the architecture of that area of the sanctuary and the extension. Elevations and sections of the proposed extension. Again, the existing gable that would extend out. Plan views and location of the elevator shaft here. A front elevation of the new gable end. You can see the side elevation and a section on the right-hand side. Again, another zoom in. This is a lighting plan, so you can see the proposed light fixture there and its location in the building, or on the extension of the building. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Chris? Okay. All right. Looks like we got Scott Corcoran on there somewhere. Scott, if you would, please identify yourself for the record, and would you like to add anything to Chris's narrative?
Scott, can you unmute yourself? You're unmuted at this end.
There we go.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. So the way this started is Chris is going on. We're having a problem getting the wheelchair-bound parishioners in during bad weather, especially. This is sort of an unusual kind of a submission for me, because generally we get two submissions. One's a preliminary, we see what we're going to do, and then the second one is the final submission. But in addition, it's a single submission, which is either approved or denied. As far as the colors, we're matching colors with the building. The trim color is the existing trim color of the building. The stucco color is the existing stucco color for the building. So basically, there's no changes in color. You know, we'll have this staircase remains. The bushes would be the position where the elevator would come up there. One of two things needs to happen here. Either I get an approval with staff review where I send the structural details that Chris wants to him, or I have to remove this from review, then go get the structural drawings done, and then submit a second proposal. I can do either, but I would think would probably go farther through if I was getting an approval with staff review. Chris did not want to do that for whatever reason, but I would like to do that because already we've gone through quite a lot on this project to get it to this stage, which basically we're just shoveling 68 square feet for an elevator. But if I could informally poll our members to see if they could give me an approval on this go through, we'll go get the structural detailing and present that. The only question that I have on it was I had designed it as laminate beams, and the engineer couldn't give me a yes or a no whether we could do it that way or not. So it might be steel covered in wood. That's again painted the trim color of the building. But like I say, I won't know that detail till I get the structure back. I didn't want to order the structure with the church's money until I knew I could build something. And I didn't know I could build something till this meeting, where you have the ability to clear me to go build. So one of two things. I would appreciate an approval, because that would be the quickest path to getting this thing finished. But if I have to, I'll go do the structural detailing and submit that back once Andy Richardson gets finished with it. And that concludes my remarks. If you have any questions.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Please hang tight. Yeah, I would, we'll go through the board members and we'll check the temperature here on what everybody thinks. But, my inclination is that you have an approvable project, but from past experiences, I think the majority is probably going to want to see the extra details, particularly the structural. But I will go through the board and see what everybody thinks. And my one concern, and when it's my turn, is the bottom of that cross too low? Will a fire truck fit under that? We'll get to that when it's my turn. Let's go through the order. Mr. McAllister?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Scott, for the additional information. In general, I have the same opinion as staff. I would like to see more information. Typically we'd like to see colors and materials and finishes specified on the drawings that we approve. I had another question about the existing window in the gable. What happens to that with this addition? Does it get removed, and do we see stucco? And also want to know what we're seeing.
Go
ahead.
The window remains. It's
Okay.
not touched.
Okay, so half of that window will be blocked by the elevator shaft. Is that correct?
The elevator shaft comes up to the right of those existing stairs. The stairs aren't touched.
Okay.
See those stairs right there? That's the stairs you're looking at, and the elevator is to one side. So you won't really be able to see that window as well as you can now, but it's still there. It's just back at over the doors.
Okay. Well, I'll kind of echo. Sorry. I'll echo what the chairman said. I think it's a very approvable project, and I don't have any issue with the concept, but I think in general would like to see more information before we approve it, since this is just an alteration addition. And those are my comments.
All right, thank you, David. Mr. Karstens?
I'm certainly in favor of the ease of being able to get into the sanctuary. I'm concerned about the existing landscape path fixtures, knowing that there's oftentimes services off hours. There will be lighting I saw that will be within the overhang, but I'm concerned about the existing site lighting and if that's going to be modified. And then knowing there's some mature foundation shrubs being removed for this, just like an inkling or an indication of some of the treatments that are going to be done associated with the disturbed areas around this area. I'm certainly in favor of this. I was concerned about that front elevation and that elevator shaft. If there's going to be able to be some kind of treatment to that, because it's certainly going to look like a big column underneath that overhang. And so I think it will draw some of the attention away from, the posts and the column bases that you've detailed. So I don't know if it had been explored to have even just an open lift associated with this project, but if not, I'd like to see, and I'll let my architectural colleagues indicate if there's a treatment that can be done maybe to that elevator shaft to just remove the fact that there's going to be this wall so much closer to the drop off and roadway area. But otherwise, I certainly am in favor of this. I could see more details. And again, even just a simple site plan indicating, that there will be a treatment similar to the evergreen foundation shrubs that are existing being replaced in the disturbed area.
Well, let me go on about the question of the elevator shaft, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Basically the clients asked me to do an enclosed shaft. My inclination would have been a lift, and they were opposed to the lift because they were thinking that it was not as solid feeling for their members. We get the caregivers to take the wheelchairs up into a full elevator, wheelchair size, and then up in a protected area. With that they were opposed to an open lift. I didn't propose one. All right,
Okay.
because of the clients. Now, what I could do on that is I'm thinking that that area. I didn't propose this in the drawings to not muddy the earth, but it would be a great place for say a relief sculpture of a religious nature. And what that would be, we of course bring that back for corridor view when it comes. I'm not thinking that box is going to be as big a thing as you're putting out. It's not the front elevation. If you look at it, it's sort of 3/4 away from the road, so you have to get around behind the building to see that. See, the road is coming up here, right? And then you to get to that thing, you go around the building. So it's sort of the back elevation or 3/4 back elevation of the building, even though
right, and my comment was more in relation to your drawings as far as the front elevation, in the call outs within the drawings. And,
right.
Just understanding that you're going from this very open double door frontage, even though the stairs really only address the one side, to fully obscuring the one side. So I was just, again, I just wanted to make sure that
thing as you're making it out. I think it's an opportunity to put some artwork in, at least on. Am I muted? No. I think it's an opportunity to put some artwork in on two sides there, and it is going to be less open. And the only place really for some landscaping is those bushes are going to be taken up by the elevator and the structure. So there would be some kind of planting around the base there of the column. Yeah, right there. Yes. And if you need to see what that's going to be, I can put you a little site plan with 3 circles on it with a size that we're going to plant and a species, if that's what you need to approve. I'll bring that back.
Next time I just would like to see that, because I think that'll certainly help also with the scale of kind of that particular side of this frontage, having that noted. So I'm certainly in favor. Along with the potential treatments for that elevator shaft, just seeing the site plan with those, the fact that there will be a landscape component, and even if it's not specifically called out, as far as a species and the size, a gallon or a spec size, I'd just like to at least make sure that that's part of a component within the next set of plans. So
I'll get somebody to do a landscape. That's not a problem.
For you, Jed?
All right. Yep.
All right. Thank you, Jed. Ms. Lippert, do we have you?
Yes.
All right. Your turn.
So, thank you. I agree with staff comments. I also agree with the other board member comments. I think it will be a very approvable design. I think it's a clever idea. I think we need a lot more information, and with that I mean not just structural. Everything from score lines in the stucco, which I think will address some of the items that Mr. Carstens just raised. I have to admit I'm a little concerned hearing the addition of artwork on the front and the side, because I think, again, it's a clever idea with the way that the cross is becoming not only a structural element but also does the iconography. So I think that's done really nicely. I think I'll be curious to see on the more detailed drawings. I guess I'm expecting for the foundations and pit for the elevator, as well as the columns, that you're going to find that you may need to demo the a good bit of the existing stair and redo that.
No.
So anyway, the structural engineer will let you know on that, but it'll be, so I think just the details will help us figure that out. Now knowing that the underside of that truss system and the beadboard will be the dark brown, I have some concerns with the white light fixture. White tends to not be a color we approve, and that creates a high contrast. So I think they're picking a fixture color maybe that is going to blend in better with the underside of the canopy, I think will be nice. For the additional detail, I'd just like to see a little bit more of the context, because I also couldn't tell whether one door was being demoed, whether the glazing, the side lights next to the doors was being demoed or not. I couldn't tell if the bollards were being eliminated, which also was something that Mr. Carstens mentioned. So just having more clarity, and then some wall sections to know what the pier capitals are or the pier tops are, where the columns start. And I think when we have all that information, I feel pretty comfortable, at least I can say that then I can easily approve the project, but at this time I just do not have enough information. That's all I have.
Thank you, Annette. Mr. Molesky.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned what caught my eye, and I'm sure Scott has an answer to it. Yeah, that vertical, whatever that is, the 6x6 that kind of goes from the gable all the way down. How far is that off the asphalt? And then also to the same question, the eaves of the roof overhang, how far is that off the asphalt?
I believe that's 12 feet.
To the eaves or to the center of the cross?
To the underside of the beam. So basically you could not drive a fire truck directly underneath that cross, but there's an entire lane to one side of it where you could put a fire truck adjacent. It only covers half the road, not the entire road.
And then even just, and I'm sure you have that conversation with fire safety. I don't know what their criteria is as far as that goes.
Comments on it. I've already been through all that with town staff. We got a big list of stuff, and that wasn't on it.
Okay. And then just in general, the bottom of that cross, the height as it relates to, let's just say, I don't know, any kind of landscaping or maintenance truck, just so that doesn't get trashed. I know it's not necessarily the DRB's job to look out for the protection of things like that, but just, to make sure we're mindful of that.
Or is 6'8" right there, so you can see that it's about a 10 foot to the bottom of that cross.
Okay. So I don't know how that.
Which is every delivery truck in the world. That's not like a what do you call it? A 18-wheeler. Anybody can get under there pretty easily.
Okay. And then are there any, I guess, curb cuts required then for
No.
handicap?
Right. Handicap curb cut right up front. They're a new one. And that's called out right there.
Okay, I see right there. Then I'm assuming that'll just be painted, whatever the
Yes.
appropriate is.
Yeah.
Okay.
80 compliant.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Those are my questions. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Ms. Voss?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with all the comments that have been made. I agree that I wouldn't feel comfortable approving this without seeing all the details. One of the things that I'm looking at is the stair. You said the stairs are going to remain.
Yes.
Does that mean you're going to use the existing railings?
I hadn't thought to change anything on there since it's working now.
When I look at it, I see a gap when you hit that first landing. I see a gap in the railing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to the top, there's a gap on the left-hand side, and I assume it's still going to be on the right-hand side, but we don't see it in the drawings because of the elevator shaft.
Right.
How does
I believe that's good. I don't think you need a guardrail off of those stairs to the ground there. I will certainly make a survey of that and make sure that it's ADA compliant for the
Okay.
next. But I believe it has ADA compliant, or at least it should have been when it was built, 86 or whenever this was constructed.
Sorry. Then,
That-
when we talk about the front view, the elevation front on, there's, I apologize for the dog. There's when we talk about the front elevation of the elevator shaft, is it possible, Ms. Lippert brought up maybe scoring the stucco to bring that horizontal beam that is basically the header for the front door, bring that across there to kind of help break that up and make, excuse me?
Absolutely.
The same on that side view as well.
Yeah, if you did it, wrap the whole shaft with it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What else was I seeing? I think other than agreeing with everyone else, those were my comments to add. Thank you.
Kathy, all right. I think everybody hit on all of that. I want to follow up on a couple things, Scott. On where you're showing a new curb cut,
Yes, sir.
that's currently all landscaping, so all that's going to be
No,
that's going to be a whole new section of concrete there, all the way up to the.
we put up the original the photograph, please, of the front. That's the sidewalk there. You see?
Yeah, but beyond that, where that bollard is right now, where the bushes are, so
Right.
we just
Right.
need to see. Yeah.
Those bushes go away. Coming out from the column, there's a new column,
Yeah.
and between that column and the staircase is the elevator shaft.
Yeah.
And curb
But-
cut comes the existing concrete there, and then there'll be a little patch of concrete out front where that lighting bollard is right now.
Can you show that on the plan? Because right now it doesn't show the extent of
Ah,
where you're paving.
certainly.
I don't see an edge. And then following up on the comment about the handrail, I would assume at the top of that deck you're going to need railings off to once you get out of the elevator door, off to the right. That looks like that's open. Is that open? Yeah, right there.
That is, there's a wall that comes in right now that I've got drawn the two lines, and we would just continue that wall into the you see it right here at the bottom elevation right there. That's an existing wall right there. It's in the that covers the existing handicap ramp, and also covers the guardrail for the walking around the sanctuary. That extends right into the side of the elevator. I'd probably leave it off 4 inches so that we wouldn't have a moisture problem there. But it's basically going to be, yeah, see, there's that.
Okay, but on the right side where the elevator is, there's no gap. There's no gap in there.
No.
Can you make sure that's delineated on the drawings? Because right now it looks like there's, it looks like if you came out the door of the elevator up and took a right for whatever reason, even though the church is in front of you, that looks like that's a drop off there on the plan.
There's a way to walk around there on the plans. I mean, existing currently, you can walk around the church that way, up at that level.
Yeah. take your word for it. I can't see where it goes or anything.
If you pull up the floor plan of the church, it's delineated on that. It comes out around this side to the other entry. See, this is where the thing here, and you can come.
Okay. Oh, you can walk through there. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't want to stop any current walking path or egress or anything like that. This was sort of
Gotcha.
a
Okay.
fewest move kind of addition. What's the fewest things we can do to solve the problem that we're
Okay.
having?
I'll buy that. Okay, so just kind of as a wrap up, we're going to suggest that you withdraw
I'm going.
and come back
Mhm.
to us with, and I'm gonna give you a list of things that I wrote down.
Okay.
But we want to make sure that the path lighting is covered and on the drawings. Show and delineate the walkways, what's new.
Mhm.
Put on your drawings what matches what, instead of just saying everything matches existing.
Thank you.
Okay. Show a couple circles for landscaping with a few notes on what you're going to replace it with.
Mhm.
Details like showing lines in the stucco. If you're proposing artwork, we'll have to see that, obviously, even though that's probably a separate review of some sort, I would imagine. The fixture color, white against the brown ceiling was brought up.
Mhm.
Give us at least one good wall section.
Will do.
The structural drawings, add the railing where needed. Is there enough space between the column base and the elevator that you can actually finish the stucco on all sides?
Yes, sir.
It's a little tight. Okay. Show the curb cut and all the new paving. And let me see else. And I would, again, that bottom of that cross hanging down at 10 feet just sounds really, really low to me. So what we want to avoid happening is that somewhere along the line says, hey, that thing's got to be taller, and then you just change it on the site. That's what we don't want to do. So I would say to you, just make sure that fits everything you need to fit. And if you need to raise it now.
All right.
And beyond that, any last comments? And then we'll need a formal withdrawal.
I formally request a withdrawal.
Thank you. Granted. And you have any last comments or questions for anybody?
No, just give me a list of stuff. I'll work the list. No problem.
Okay. Well, I went through the list. So, Teresa, can you make sure those show up in the report or the meeting minutes? And this is all public knowledge. So, did I miss anything, DRB members, on that list? Anyone? Okay, looks like you're covered. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Scott.
All right.
Thanks. All righty, so let's move on to Hargrave Building F, DRB 000145-2021. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This application is for a color change to the main central office for Hargrave Communications. A similar application that included changes to the exterior facade was withdrawn during the January 12th meeting. This application does not include any changes to the facade. The applicant is requesting approval to paint the building functional gray, which is Sherwin-Williams 7024. Staff recommends approval with the condition that the shingles, and we'll look at those in the pictures, not be painted. The site is in red on your screen. On two sides of the site is Hilton Head Island Community Church here. The commercial Hargrave building that is referenced in the narrative is here, and that received that metal, the red entry, and the building was painted a gray. To 278 runs diagonally across the middle of your screen. Does everybody know where we are? If you don't, please raise your hand and indicate. Seeing none, we'll move on. So this is the building in question. The shingles that staff is suggesting not be painted are those cedar shake shingles right here at the top of the building. Again, a back view and the shingles. Just a wall on the building. Side view. That concludes staff's presentation.
All right, that was an easy one. Let's see, do we have anyone present, applicant present? Please identify yourself.
Yes, sir. David Steiger with Hargrave Communications. I'm the construction and facility supervisor.
Welcome back, David. Do you have anything to add to Chris's short narrative?
Yes, I got to apologize to Chris. I was out of town all last week. I had a death in the family, so I dropped off some paint samples yesterday in your box. But to get back to it, if he showed you the pictures, you can see how this building hasn't been maintained. I don't know the exact date when it was built. This is one of our original COs where every bit of internet and cable and telephone comes into and goes out of all over the island. So it's going to be a building that we're going to keep and maintain and have to keep up to date. We're just looking to paint all of the body of the building functional gray. The functional gray was a color that you approved for the other retail store building. The cedar shakes, you guys were saying, were an extension of the roof. So I contacted my roofer and he's getting some pricing together, and the pricing didn't reflect what we wanted to do. It's quite a bit higher, so I have to go back to my executive staff and try to ask for some more money for this project. And once that gets approved, then they will be probably putting in a building permit to do a direct replacement, take off the old cedar shakes and put new cedar shakes on.
Thank you. One question for you, David.
Sure.
Because I'm sure this will come up. What about the service doors? Could we get a picture of the service doors on the back? That one is body color, and then that one is not. You're going to paint them all the body color?
They're all going to be the body color, yes.
Okay.
I really need to get rid of that yellow.
Okay.
And plus the building really needs to be cleaned well. So in order to do that, do the painting, they're going to have to pressure wash everything.
And in staff's recommendation, Chris, was don't touch the shingles.
Not to paint the shingles.
And the coping. Is that the coping included in that, Chris, recommendation?
Yes, sir, that is. You're correct.
Okay, thank you. All right.
We plan on keeping the maroon coping because that was approved when we replaced the roof 2 years ago.
Yeah,
so that's going to stay the same color.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Okay, we will. I'm sorry, were you finished, David?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Just hang tight. We're gonna run through the board members. Mr. McAllister.
Thank you. Well, all the questions that I had have just been answered. So I'm good with the color. I'm good with the flashing the coping staying the same color. I'm fine with the doors being the body color. So I'm good.
All right, thank you, David. Mr. Carson.
I'm in agreement with Mr. McAllister and staff, so I'm good.
Thanks, Judd. Ms. Lippert?
I just have one question. Chris, if I could ask you to pull up the photo where the service yard can be seen, there seems to be a pressure-treated gate, if I saw that correctly.
No, that's...
no, there was another view. More view. There, right there. Maybe it's not even pressure-treated. I'm just curious, is
that's a fence.
all of that... So is that all going to get painted in the gray also, or where does the extent end?
I'm going to paint that all in the gray also.
Okay.
What
In
it
that case,
is that it's a stucco, it's
go ahead.
Hey, David.
because there's stucco that matches the building, both buildings. And then there's like dog ears for about 3 feet in between the stucco pillars. I wish I got a better picture of that fence for you. That was a concern. So it's just going to be all the functional gray all the way around.
Okay, so in that case, all of my questions have also been answered. I agree with staff. The cedar shakes should not get painted. Fine with the coping staying. The building, the service yard, fence, the service doors all go into the functional gray, then I'm on board. That's all I have.
Perfect.
Thanks, Annette. Mr. Molesky.
Yes, thanks. That letter F we're looking at there, that's staying green. Is that hard gray green?
No, that's probably coming off.
Okay, so that goes away.
Back when we
Anything?
had a bigger campus and all them buildings on that property, they were signified building A, B, C, D, and F. We don't own.
Now they just refer to it as the dirty building with the old cedar shingle.
You got to be at Hargrave for a while to call it F building.
Yeah.
Now it's just called the central office.
And that's you know who's part of the new regime.
Yes.
Is there any lighting that's going to be added to the outside once this gets done, whether it be for safety or just for?
No, there's plenty of parking lot lighting in front and on the backside. There are some lights by the doorways on the backside and by all the doors. And that's all that we really have on there. I wasn't going to add any. I didn't have a plan to.
Okay. And I know you would have brought this up. So the landscaping, it is what it is. If trees close to the building where it's going to be stucco, you'll just cover that tree up and do your best. And it is
Yeah,
what it is.
some of them on the front side, a lot of them palms are getting trimmed back, like a normal pruning. And there's some crepe myrtles in front. They're getting cut. A lot of them shrubs are going to be cut down to normal size. It's going to help when they go to paint it also. So that will be done by my tree service, Island Tree Service, before the painting happens.
Okay. And that's all. I'll be looking forward to the unveiling party. Thank you.
Yeah, I really need to clean this building up. It's not been touched in quite some time, and I've been pressing for a couple of years now. We did the inside, and I've been pressing to get the outside and do something with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. Ms. Foss.
I think most of my questions have been answered. I agree, David, thanks for getting rid of the yellow. We've approved the functional gray several times before, and I think that's going to make your unpainted shingles, whether you get new ones or not, the unpainted shingles and the coping aren't going to stand out as much as they do right now. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And I think all the questions have been answered, so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion unless anybody needs a second round. All right. So motion regarding Hargrave Building F, DRB 000145-2021. Motion for approval with the following conditions. Functional gray, Sherwin-Williams number 7024 is approved. I would like a note in the record that a physical sample was not reviewed by the board, but it is a color that we have approved in the past and has been approved specifically for Hargrave. I'd like that in the notes, please. Painting is to include all vertical surfaces of stucco and wood. including the service yard and the service doors. And the shingles and the coping are to remain as is.
Yeah.
Any comments or amendments to the motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Foss. Teresa, would you please call roll?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Lippert,
Yes.
Ms. Foss,
Yes.
Mr. McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. Molesky,
Yes.
Mr. Karstens,
Yes.
Mr. Gentleman.
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
All right, so moving on to what is now our last item, our last submittal, I should say.
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry.
Mr.
Oh.
Chairman,
Yeah.
I need to
Kathy.
recuse myself from this project.
Oh, okay. All right. So Ms. Foss will not be present for this one. Is signage sandbox sign DRB -000118-2021. And I see that now in my notes. Ms. Foss will be recused for this. And we will turn it over to Shay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Sandbox Children's Museum has applied for signage to be located on the new building in Low Country Celebration Park. Because there will not be a freestanding sign for the museum, the LMO allows for the size of the facade sign to be increased by 50%. This will allow for a facade sign with a maximum of 60 square feet. The proposed sign is 57 square feet and made of 1.5-inch HDU. The proposed colors will utilize the building trim color for the background, the building siding color for the border, logo, and tagline copy. Luxurious red was selected for the sandbox copy to relate to the adjacent circle center colors. Laurel blue is proposed for the color of the flag on the logo. The sign will be flush mounted to the building, and staff is recommending approval of the application as submitted. Here you can see on the screen the location of the sandbox building in Low Country Celebration Park. Here's an aerial of the completed building here, and the sign will be placed on this facade area here. This is a rendering during the permitting, and then this is the concept for the sign. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Shay, is the applicant present?
Yes, sir. I believe we have someone from Sign Design as well as Mr. Jim Gant representing the sandbox.
All right. If someone would like to speak, if you would mind identifying yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sean Congleton with Sign Design. We are working with the sandbox and donating them this sign so they can get their visibility out at the Celebration Park. It's our feeling this is it's in keeping with the treatment and features of the other signage out there, and we are looking forward to make it happen. That's pretty straightforward. I think if you've got any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But seems to be pretty cut and clear and dry in our opinion. So we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a recommendation from approval for approval from staff. We will go through the order, and if anyone has any questions, please bring them up. Let's start with Mr. McAllister.
All right. I just have one question. Can you confirm, is the text dimensional? Like, is it raised at all, or is it flush? Could you clarify that for me?
Sure. It's the sign's constructed out of routed HDU. So the total thickness is 1.5 inches, and typically a routed depth is around a 1/4 inch. So the letters, logo, and border will be dimensional.
Okay. I think the colors look great. I think it looks fine. And my initial reaction was it was a very big sign, but I think it's appropriate for the scale of the building, so I think it looks nice. No other comments.
Thank you, David. Mr. Karstens.
I'm in favor of this. I think the color palette's going to be very nice. I've recently painted my house, and I realized what the actual finishes can do for paint. Or what are the finishes? Is it going to be an eggshell, or is there going to be any gloss associated with this, or how does that typically end up panning out with the HDUs?
We use a paint system called Matthews Paint System, so it's an automotive grade paint. It's a lot harder than on your house paint. We do use a clear coat, but typically on the island we use a satin clear rather than high gloss, so it kind of blends with the rest of the signs. So you're not going to notice a sheen. It'll be satin. That's really just to protect the paint further from UV degradation.
Great, thank you. That's it from me.
I thank you, Judd. Then you can come over and paint my house this weekend too, if you don't mind. So, Miss Slippert.
I just had two questions. So one is super minor. On the sign, it looks like the flagpole is black. But that color doesn't actually appear in the palette? Sean, if you could answer to that.
Jay, can you go back to the flagpole is the same brown as, I'm not sure why it appears black.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
I hadn't noticed
good.
that before now, so it'll be brown.
Okay. And Shay, if I could just ask you one part I was unclear of, the circle in the background of the sign. I'm assuming that's part of the architecture?
That was from the original elevations that were prepared for the park. It was intended that the sign would be circular at that time, so it's just a remnant of the old elevation. Currently, the elevation is only the horizontal. I'm scrolling back to the elevation here, so you can see the circle does not appear in the actual building.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was just hoping that was not part of a background of the sign. So that makes me even more happy to approve as submitted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annette. Mr. Molesky?
Thanks. Can you show me the the plan view or something that where the sign's gonna go on what sides? Is it gonna be on 3 sides, just 2 sides, the gabled ends, or?
This is the only location that will have signage on the building. This is the front elevation as you approach the entrance from Nassau Street. And the
Okay,
sign
so nothing on the other gabled end there facing the ship or anything then, just only that one location.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I think the sign looks great. I would say it'd be nice if it was on the other side too, and then I'm sure you'll say that we are currently accepting donations. So thank you.
All right, thank you, John. And Ms. Foss has been recused, so that's up to me. I think it looks great. Absolutely no comments from me. So there were no conditions that I heard from anyone, so I will make a motion, unless anybody needs a second round, anyone? Okay. I will make a motion for sandbox sign DRB 000118-2021 approved as submitted. We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a second from Mr. McAllister. Ms. Teresa, would you please do roll?
Yes, sir. Ms. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Molesky?
Yes.
Mr. Karstens?
Yes.
Mr. Gentleman?
Yes. Motion approves unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Sean and Jim.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's see. So the airport sign has been removed. And looks like we are up to board business. Do we have any board business? Ms. Foss.
I'd like to ask what's happening at Northridge with the tree protection going around in the parking lot?
Do you know that?
There are some proposed. Essentially they're resurfacing the parking lot and doing some things that fell below your all's purview. I know several of you have been involved several times in review of that site, but all they're doing is just some resurfacing of the pavement, of the asphalt. I think there might also be some concrete curbs going in and things like that, but that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm sorry, Shay is also informing me there's some additional landscaping going in too.
And okay, I'll bring up Schooner Court. We're not going to get into.
And I'm gonna have to recuse myself for that one.
Oh, okay, all right, and that's going to recuse herself from this conversation. We're just going to touch on this with broad strokes, and we will make it an agenda item for the next meeting. I don't know how you put out the word, Teresa and Chris, if anyone would like to speak at that meeting, particularly about that, we will put that on as an agenda item. Chris circulated a letter, which I hope everyone read, about someone with concerns about the color approval. So what we would like to be prepared for the next meeting, Chris, is if you could distribute, or Teresa, distribute to the members here the notes from the 2 or 3 particular meetings at which Schooner Court was reviewed, including the ones that might have been withdrawn, so we can all refresh ourselves on the process there. And let's make it an agenda item. If there's anyone wants to address this, go ahead. But again, we're not going to get into specifics at the moment. Ms. Foss.
I would simply say I read some of the back and forth, and it sounds like the person or people who wrote that letter never were let in on the goal of making it look like it does now. And I think they should be sent to talk to, and I forget the gentleman's name who presented the project to us. I think they should be given the opportunity to talk to him, and maybe they won't want to bring it up again.
What I don't want to do is make it an open agenda item whenever the town gets a letter. That could open a Pandora's box. So, I was even wondering if we wanted to make it an agenda item. That's up for discussion. I think it would be a good discussion, but my reply to Chris in the email was, what other conversations have been had regarding this? Is that the only letter, Chris? Positive or negative?
No, sir, it's not. And I did respond to your email, but I'm happy to report now.
Would you please? Yeah.
Yes, sir. No, this is not the only communication that staff has received. We've received communication from the Sea Pines ARB administrator, as well as 2 Sea Pines ARB board members. The concern was if what we approved, what the DRB approved, was actually installed, and it was. I think the issue at this point is that DRB approval deviated a little bit from the Sea Pines ARB approval, and it is the applicant's responsibility to make sure that those approvals jive with each other. And they, for some reason, that didn't happen. I've been given several reasons why that didn't happen, but really, it didn't happen. So I also had a meeting with the Sea Pines ARB director, and he informed me that they were not entirely happy. The board was not entirely happy with the project. They did understand that it is a Portofino look, and his comment to me was he thought that we missed the mark, or that when I say we, I meant the ARB and us, maybe missed the mark on those colors for a Portofino look a little bit, but they weren't going to pursue any additional action against this project. And I think it's important to note that staff, I went down to look and check the colors, and they are in compliant with the DRB approval.
So I'm just slightly confused on the Sea Pines ARB and ours. So the board, the Sea Pines board, the overall governing body, doesn't like the result, and they're questioning this board's decision, Sea Pines board decision, or both. I haven't seen the letter. Okay,
let me be clear. When I say the board, it was the Sea Pines ARB, Architectural Review Board, not their governing board.
Okay.
It's the Sea Pines ARB board, the Architectural Review Board, that has contacted me about this. And yes, they were concerned about the colors, but for the most part, and I went back and looked at the letters we got from the Sea Pines ARB, those are, for the most part, the colors that they approved.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused. Okay, so again, we're not taking any kind of formal motions or anything on this, but this is a discussion. From my recollection, and that's why I'd like to see all the information, is something out of the box, something a little different was brought to us for approval. It was endorsed by the Sea Pines ARB, including 3 very prominent architects, which I believe were Tom Cruise, Tom Parker, and I don't want to say this on the record without being totally accurate, but I think Neil Gordon. Okay, I think those 3, and that's what I'd like to check. I know it was Tom and Tom, but I don't remember if Neil was the third one. He sits on the Sea Pines ARB, so I'm thinking it was. And we took it under consideration based on their knowledge of the history of Sea Pines, and thought, yeah, this could be an interesting thing. Probably not something we would have approved on 278, but the Portofino having the historical value to the basis of Sea Pines was where our recommendation, actually it wasn't even a recommendation. I think it was just a nod, basically. But I'd like to review that formally at the next meeting. And yes, in that letter, it's brought up, Charles Frazier's very famous standing that the building should be the background, but we also have, a icon against that, which was Frazier's Folly, which is the lighthouse. So, this, again, we'll discuss all this formally, but I'd just like to make sure we have all the information. and to see if we deviated from what they were asking. And I don't really remember that we did, other than we might have gone with, I think we went a shade darker on the trim or something like that. And that's just my off the cuff recollection at the moment.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, in looking at the Sea Pines ARB approval, they had approved a singular trim color on all the buildings, which I believe was in the blue family. So the doors, the trim, the shutters on all the buildings were supposed to be the same. And that is the substantial difference between the two approvals.
The applicant did not go back to Sea Pines Review Board and get the changes approved. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Well, that's beyond our control. So
agreed.
So I don't see an issue with that. But anyway, okay. Anybody else want to throw anything in there? Kathy, you have a little star question mark on your picture. I don't know what that is. I thought that might be, yeah. Yeah, John.
When we got this letter, I looked back at the agendas, and back in July of last year, it was the first time it came through, and it was recommended for denial. And in staff comments, it talked about using earth tones, and us as our group, we tabled this. So I don't know if it just fell through the cracks as far as when it came back that they kept the same things, but they made some of those modifications. And it seemed as though we were focused on the service yards and some elements like that. And in noticing in those photos too, I will say that I guess I had the notion that the color change was going to be between units that in essence stepped or moved in and out of each other. It looked like there's at least one or two units that the color change is down a shared wall. And I don't know if that certainly helps to make them stand out, or the contrast is that much more apparent. But we did have a discussion on a number of things, and I mean, I seconded it, so I clearly had some sense of what I thought was going on. But no, I mean, it was staff definitely had said before they tabled it that the earth tones were going to be there, and I'm taking it that we might have leaned a little too heavy on Sea Pines ARB for this. But I'll let anybody else who wants to chime in on this. So.
I mean, I was just going to say, I recall that the gentleman who made the presentation, we were all pretty impressed how thorough he was and all the due diligence that he went through and all that kind of good stuff. And I think to speak for all of us, we are not color consultants, and we all have our opinions on whether we agree with the colors or not. I believe that if whether it be residents of that particular development or others, aren't pleased with how it turned out, I would think that would be more of an internal thing for them, just to get together with their internal board, come up with a different group of colors, and then go through the process again by getting it approved through Sea Pines and then ultimately the DRB if they're not satisfied with the results, as anyone would when you go to repaint.
Yeah, I'm leaning your way, John, that if it's an internal dissatisfaction, then that needs to be handled on their part. And if they want to change something, bring it back to us. Other than that, I think that issue is, I mean, I think that issue is dead for all the reasons that John has brought up, unless the applicants want to come back and change a color. It's just if someone's not happy with a decision made, whether it's ours or somebody else's, I don't know that we need a full agenda item to discuss it unless people on the board felt like we made a questionable decision, or we need to change the way we look at things. And these people are always welcome to submit comments through the portal. So, is this an agenda item, Kathy?
I don't think it's an agenda item. I think there was a lack of communications on the Sea Pines, the tenants, the owners, the guy who presented the project to us, and the ARB there. There was a lack of communication, and we shouldn't have to bring it up on an agenda item and clear it up for them. They need to clear it up amongst themselves. And as you say, if their decision is to change the color, then they bring it back up to us for that reason.
Yeah, I think that's what John was leading to, and I agree with that. So unless David or Judd thinks this needs to be an agenda item, then we're not going to make it an agenda item, and unless the applicant comes back with something different.
I'm in agreement with what Ms. Foster said. I don't think it needs to be an agenda item.
Okay.
Seeing it painted, though, it does start to make me think. I mean, we look at, there's certain areas of the island that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we view slightly different, like Shelter Cove has a slightly different character.
Yeah.
And I think that heavily factored into this approval with Harbor Town as being kind of a unique area. So, in my mind, it just makes me start to think and wonder, what is the line, like how much flexibility do we give for some of these areas? So, I don't know the answer to that. It just makes me wonder.
I don't remember what the vote was, but I think the vote passed easily. So, so I don't see any reason to bring this up again unless it comes to us as a submittal. So.
Mr. Chairman, one last thing. As I said, I had a meeting with the Sea Pines ARB administrator, and what we are going to do in an informal capacity is share NOAs with them. That's notice of actions from you all. We'll share those NOAs with the administrator as well as the applicants to kind of improve the communication.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. All right. We done with board business? Any other board business? Okay, then we get to our favorite time of the day, staff report.
Yes, sir. There were only two minor DRB approvals since your last meeting. One was for the repainting of Birdie James and Shelter Cove. The color that was approved was very slightly different, and so that was handled at a staff level. The next one was Sea Pines Villas. They relocated their beach shower, and that was handled as a minor DRB. And that's it.
Anybody else got anything else? All right, everybody, we are adjourned. Thanks.